In this video, I'm going to give you 6 signs men expose just before they're cheating and that most women, unfortunately, just don't pay attention to them and they miss them. You know, usually when there's a bunch of red flags in the relationship, that's obviously a very clear sign something is probably going to happen. When there are these behavioral changes that he's exposing, but which ones is the important piece? And there are very obvious key indicators that you're going to see in terms of the relation dynamic and how it shifts and changes that will give you insights that this man is probably cheating on you or about to cheat on you. Number one, before we actually go into anything else, I want to tell you the most important piece in order to be able to identify what's really going on and what's happening here is you need to trust your intuition. You know, your intuition is like, it's your inner compass. It tells you everything if we're willing and able to properly listen to it. You know, women are emotionally so sensitive and so in tune with themselves usually, definitely with their environment, and clearly also with the partner that they're with. And if you feel your intuition tells you something is up, I can feel something is not quite right, or maybe even completely off and wrong here, that's the very first really, really important indicator that something probably is up and is not okay. And if you feel like, I cannot trust this right now, I don't even know exactly what it is, but it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel right, and then he's exposing any of the other 5 indicators that I give you right after this, then those are signs that this man is just about to cheat on you. The second point here is he tries to gaslight you. Now, what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is a form of emotional manipulation where he literally tries to change the perception of reality for you. You know something has been this way, but he consistently figures out a way in order to make you doubt your own way of looking at the world and reality and what has actually happened. You know, so there's a denial of reality. So they really tell you something didn't really quite happen, that has never been said. So that's the first one. There is this confusion that you're experiencing then, which makes you doubt even more because they're twisting facts and they're twisting the reality that all of a sudden, the thing that you said like, no, it was this way, he kind of figures out a way to convince you that it's actually was the other way. Then on top of it, there's blame shifting. So rather taking any type of responsibility, if you've exposed something, they're always figuring out a way in order to shift the blame and actually that you're ending up being the villain in this picture rather than the victim. And they're telling you things like, you know, you're being completely unreasonable. Why are you so overly insecure right now? Are you actually the one who's cheating on me here rather than you like putting it on me? Where is this coming from? Like, you know, that type of behavior and like these type of reactions, that's gaslighting. Because otherwise you would be way more listening and he would be way more in tune with you of like really wanting to understand where is this coming from and really trying to help you to take that anxiety or that doubt away rather than just like flipping around and making you the issue. And then with all of this, it's almost like this person, when they're gaslighting you, they're really undermining your confidence. They're making you doubt yourself and your actions and behaviors and the way how you think and what you think you've seen and like has actually been there. Like all of this ends up being a huge question mark. So make sure you pay attention to him gaslighting you.
Which brings me to today's sponsor. If you're stuck, lost, or confused when it comes to your relationship with men and you don't know how to communicate your needs to him in a way that makes you feel seen, loved, and heard, then you must see this. Since every woman's personality and circumstance is so unique and so special to you, we have a free relationship assessment quiz that you can take in the link below. That quiz will give you a customizable action plan to give you the love that you deserve, because you're worthy of it and you do deserve it so, so much. So take our free relationship assessment quiz right now, and now back to the video.
The third one is very vague in mysterious ways how he manages his time and his availability to you. So if there are some suspicious behaviors and all of these, like all of a sudden he's MIA and then there's this absence and there's like no explanation, there's no reasoning behind it. Whenever you ask for him, it actually turns into like more confusion and more questions rather than getting more clarity. Everything becomes more convoluted and like you don't really feel like you can grasp what's really going on here. And these suspicious behaviors, what usually does is like this unexplained absence creates more and more of an issue in that relationship. And the reason why all of this is happening is probably because there's someone else involved in one way or something else involved in some way that he doesn't want you to know. And obviously, you're gonna pick up on it. Number 4, he starts to become very sketchy around his phone and about his privacy. And there's a change in his behaviors, which I go into like right after this point. But specifically for his phone, there's like, maybe there's some hidden content. Maybe he doesn't want to see you text anything. Maybe he's like taking the phone away as soon as he sees like, okay, there's some text. Maybe even like in terms of his notifications, back in the days on this locked screen, you could see who was texting, what they were texting, what's the name. And now all of a sudden, all of it is hidden. You just see like, okay, there's a message that has arrived. Or maybe there's no notifications at all anymore. If you find this is happening here and this privacy issue becomes all of a sudden a real issue, and before it was never a thing, these change in phone behaviors and the privacy invasion, if this becomes such a big thing, the infidelity indicators are quite high. The 5th sign that he's giving away that he's about to cheat on you or that he's already cheating on you are notable changes in his behaviors. Now, this could be anything from like withdrawing from social gatherings or going out even more with maybe a new circle of friends that you haven't really been quite introduced to. There's so many ways how social circles may change in ways that it almost feels like, that's strange, that's so much. And all of a sudden, in combination with that secrecy and maybe even compartmentalizing it a little bit more, these social behaviors and the validation seeking that he might get now all of a sudden from someone else becomes a thing because there's a reduced engagement that he has with you. And yet you see that this extra time and energy and engagement moves somewhere else. That's something to pay attention to. And the 6th point, which seems to be quite an obvious one, but I definitely have to state that, is if there's no sex anymore. That's the 6th point. If there's like sexual disinterest and the loss of intimacy, then those are very clear indicators that something is clearly not going quite well in your relationship. And if a man, and you know best, if your man is usually sexually quite active, if there's an attraction and a desire that he shows to you or has always shown to you, and that kind of fades away, and maybe it's not even there anymore, and there's this decreased connection and this sexual withdrawal, emotional withdrawal, and intimacy is just not happening anymore because there's such a loss all of a sudden with all of this, then the detachment of the relationship, and like I said, that sexual disinterest, this reduced engagement of the partnership, of like even being just physically close to each other, that's a very clear indicator and it identifies the potentiality for infidelity. So I know some of these points may seem quite obvious, but others maybe not so much. Either way, trust that intuition and that instinct that you have because it, yeah, generally speaking, gives you all the answers. And then you just have to believe that whatever it is that your internal compass tells you, combine that with the right action steps and really finding the clarity that you need and want in order to move from this. Either to completely get rid of the potential anxiety or the big question marks that you have that something is up. There might be other reasons why this is the case, why he's sexually detaching from you right now. Maybe there's also a reason why these behavioral changes that you're seeing and all of these other things that I mentioned. However, with all that said, you just want to make sure if you identify any of these 6 points, maybe multiple of these 6 points that I just gave you, then the probability of him going to cheat on you has increased quite significantly.